Let's talk to Robert Bates, who's Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, because, of course, we've got plenty of reasons to be concerned. Robert, very good morning to you. Let's have a look at what Yvette Cooper has said over the weekend about the gangs.
So I do believe that you can tackle this trade of organised gangs, and partly because what I've seen through, the talking to other countries, the work that we've done looking at France, Germany, the visit to Iraq as well, actually I think our law enforcement across borders has been far, far too weak. You can see all kinds of different areas where we could be operating much more strongly between us.
And now Angela Eagle.
It's not possible to know how many undocumented migrants there are. We only know the ones that we've come across. There are currently 107,000 people in our asylum system. That's the backlog that we inherited, which we're dealing with. But if somebody's here completely illegally and they got here illegally and we've never come across them, we don't know who or where they are.
That's reassuring, isn't it, Robert? It's good to know the government have absolutely no clue what they're doing, and they're finally admitting it.
Yeah, that comment by Angela Eagle was very telling. It seems that they have already given up before actually even introducing any measures to try and stymie the flow. I can tell Angela, if she is watching, how many people are in the UK likely undocumented, and it's about 1.2 million. Obviously, there are those that have come across in boats in the last few years, but they are only a small part of the illegal migrant problem. The significant news, of course, is that we now have had over the last couple of days 1,000 people cross the channel in December, and this is incredibly telling. This has never happened before, and this just shows exactly how dire the Labour Party's plans are, in that we now have people crossing in the deepest, darkest months of winter, prepared to take the chance and to try and get foot on English shores. And you have to ask yourself, what has changed in the last few years that has made this case now be in the fore? And the simple answer is that we now have a human rights lawyer as the Prime Minister, a chap that these migrants know is well and truly on their side, and that they have no real chance of being deported. Throughout those interviews, no real conversation about how they're going to deport those that aren't voluntarily putting themselves up for return. Obviously, we hear a lot about 13,000 people having been returned, but almost all of those are individuals that volunteered themselves. So
well, this is the thing. We don't know, right? Because we asked, there was 37 of them, we were told, put on a plane to Pakistan last week. But the Home Office wouldn't say, when we asked them, exactly who are these people? Are they people who have been in prison? Are they people who have come and failed their asylum claim? Who exactly are they? And they won't tell us.
Well, they don't have a clue. There's a very interesting point about the illegal migration crime rates. Obviously, that is something that Reform MP Rupert Lowe is pushing quite a lot.
Yes.
But, he seems to have been banging his head against a brick wall trying to get anything of any use out of Angela Eagle, because why would they bother caring about those statistics? It's not their communities that are being blighted by these young men that are being put up in hotels. It's obviously those of us in the Red Wall. It's those communities that probably voted Labour again in the last election and put their trust in them because they made promises like the ones where they said that they would be ending the use of hotels, something which, again, is not happening. So it's broken promise after broken promise with this government so far.
It really is. And as far as the, the sort of manoeuvrings are concerned, it's interesting to me because if the Tory government had tried to even send a team out to an airport with 37 migrants on it, they would have been picketed. They would have had lawyers all over them like a rash. They would have had, people lying down on the runway. They would have had people trying to drag these guys off planes. Where have they all gone? How is this now apparently okay?
Well, they're all mates with the current ministers, aren't they? So there's obviously a lack of desire from those campaign groups masquerading as charities to kick up a bit of a stink. I think the important thing is to remember, though, is that by the very nature of them being voluntary returns, a lot of these people have been given a very generous package to actually return to their country of origin in the first place. It's not as if we've actually kind of caught them at a car wash or as a Deliveroo driver and said, we need to see your papers. No, you don't have any papers. Right, where are you going? These are people that have come forward and said, look, I'm here illegally. Can you help me get back to my country of origin? And the government have then started booking them flights, booking them temporary accommodation on the other side, and effectively acted as travel agents for those that were in the country illegally. So there's a bit of a difference there. I think in terms of actually enforcing deportations on those that are here illegally. The government, as we just heard from Angela Rieger there, don't even know where to start. They wouldn't have a clue as to how to go about rounding up those that are in the country without the necessary permissions. And I think, that's a lack of policy now. So it's a lack of desire to actually solve the problem. And it's one that is a huge pull factor as well. If people are seeing that this government aren't prepared to actually take those steps and to take measures that might be seen as somewhat draconian, then they're going to keep coming.
Yeah, of course they are. And I mean, there's no suggestion, is there, that any of the people who are here, and according to, I think, Angela Rieger, she said it was 107,000. I mean, that's low for me. I think it's more like 135,000 or thereabouts people who are here seeking asylum. There's a pretty good chance that all of them will be given asylum because that's how they'll clear the backlog.
Well, that's the strategy, isn't it? It's just get out that big rubber stamp and start going approve, approve, approve on all those applications that come across the desk. There was an interesting statistic that came out a couple of months ago when the Labour government had first taken office, was that there was a serious drop in the actual quality of the processing of asylum applications. About 50% now of asylum applications that are approved are deemed to not have done enough thorough work on it and an accurate assessment of the actual ins and outs of the individual case. So what we are effectively seeing is an amnesty. We are seeing the Labour Party trying to act as the grown-ups, when in reality what they are doing is granting amnesty to tens of thousands of people that have no right to be in our country.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, I mean, I take it you don't have an awful lot of, shall we say, optimism that these numbers are going to come down anytime soon, or indeed the boats are going to stop coming anytime soon, despite all these deals that they seem to be doing with various different countries around the world.
The deals are a red herring. I can't see anything from this first 6 months of this Labour government that would suggest that those that are making the crossing are deterred in any way, shape or form. We saw obviously encouraging signs a couple of a week or so ago when the Labour Party decided to suspend asylum applications from those from Syria. But if we can do it for Syria, why aren't we able to do it for those other countries that are causing us such problems? We know the nationalities of those that are more prevalent and those that are more likely to make the crossing. Why can't we equally send them a message and start suspending their asylum applications as well? And the simple fact of the matter is that there isn't political will. We're seeing a lot of them over on the continent at the moment, but talking with European capitals and talking with prime ministers and leaders over there does really nothing to help solve the British problem. It probably makes them feel very good in the Labour Party and make them feel like they are doing something, but it really does nothing to stop that flow that really matters, which is from France to the UK.
Yeah, absolutely right. Very good to talk to you. Robert Bates, thank you very much indeed, Research Director of the Centre for Migration Control.